And we're back. I couldn't pause it, and so I think there'll be part 1 and part 2. This is part 2. I have dried it in the break, and so here we go for the second part of the Spring Hare by Joe Alsop. And as you can see, he is dry. Can you see the green? Okay, see the green little elements here. Now that is purely pigment that is created from the water and the dissipation of that Staedtler Triplus fine liner that I used earlier. Okay, and so that's why I like it. It's black, then it's bluey. Sometimes it comes out purpley or green, and I've got the green on this paper. How it reacts with different papers, I've noticed. Sometimes other students don't get it merging and mingling, they're not using enough water perhaps, or they're using a different type of paper that can have an effect. So just get used to the materials that you're familiar with, that you like to use, and see what happens with yours. But that's definitely what I've got on this one, is the green. I've not touched any green in there at all, and it's not even off the yellowy area there, because that was way over here that it's come off. Okay, so looking at it, he's not the best looking. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn him upside down. Okay, so I turn him upside down, but you must also turn this upside down so that you can assess the situation from another angle, a different perspective. Okay, and so by looking at it, you're no longer looking at the hair, but you're looking at different patterns and shapes, and you're looking at the painting that you've created, and it's always going to be different. I'm not trying to replicate exactly the same. Every time you paint something, it's an original. I'm just taking the idea from that hair because I've measured the proportions from a real hair and so on. And so I know that it's thereabouts. It does look like a hair, I'm hoping, or at least it's starting to look like a hair. If it's not, we're going to continue until it is. Okay, so whatever we have to do in order to make it look right. So going upside down is an option. So I'm going to mix up again the indigo, and then I'm going to use the burnt umber. I just wash the brush out, you don't have to. But there's the very, very intense mix there. So there's hardly any water with that. And with that being dry as well, the paper being dry, there's going to be no wet on wet now. It's going to be wet on dry. So you've got more chance of getting the paint to hit the places that you want it to. If it does start to look a little bit stiff and you're overworking and you've got too many edges that are hard, wet on dry, then you could spritz it with a water atomizer. So just a little bit of a squirt of water, a mist sprayer, and just get it loosening off again. Because sometimes we get carried away with fur, we get carried away with hair, we want to paint a million hairs. Pardon the pun, that wasn't deliberate. Okay, but we do when we're doing a portrait of a human, we do too many hairs. Really, you've got to look beyond that and then just do the hair detail over the top of the initial washes that might have started wet on wet. We can then apply this lovely wet on dry, and we've got the free flow of this little brush going in different directions in order to start making his mouth, his muzzle, and everything stand out. So we've got a mouth here that I put in initially with the pen, and it's gone, and so I'm just repainting that now, redrawing it if you like with the rigger, because I've got more control. So I'm going to put that in. I see a line, and then I see another line coming out this way, so I'm going to put that in, and then I've got another line that's like a mountain, looking at it this way, or a Y the other way, but whichever is identify those areas of lights, mids and darks. So I've got a few more dark bits there. I've got a little tickle down the side of his muzzle there. Another bit, where shall we go here? I'm going to put a little bit of water on that to help it. Okay, because it's dried and that'd be too harsh, so I'm just loosening that off a little bit. Under his eyes, he's got quite a bit of dark. Under the other eye, quite a bit of dark. I'm going to draw the pupil in as well while I'm here. So I can get that, get a bit of water on to help it move around a little bit and get that shape. And it's not a circle, it's more like an oval. If you see an egg, draw an egg, whatever you see, and try and leave that white spot. I've lost it there, but because I'm painting, I'll just show you what I mean. Because I'm painting over the top of a light area, it does appear to still look white. So let's turn it the right way as well, that way. So what I'm after showing you is the fact that on one eye there's a bit of a white spot, but on the other eye that I've just done there wasn't a white spot, but it still looks white now that I've put the dark on it. So light against dark, dark against light to get you back to where you were. And at the end I'm going to use my blade as well to scratch a little bit of the white highlights out. So going back to the little brush, working again upside down, I'm just going to put some darker bits in. Just relax about it, just have a look, see where you might improve. Put the little bits in. You might find that the wax is repelling and you wanted a bit of dark in there. It won't matter. It doesn't matter. It's never ever going to be the same. That's not what we're after. Otherwise we'd be bored. We'd all look the same. We'd all drive the same car. We'd all decorate the lounge the same. And we'd be bored. And we don't want to be bored. We want to keep doing different things. So this is Motivational Monday. And I'll get lots of these in for you. Shorter ones, longer ones. And if you do want to see some of the longer videos I've done, video on demand on the SAA website as a member, log in and have a look at those videos, not just mine. There's loads of fantastic artists on there, absolutely full of different mediums, different artist styles for you to inspire, keep you going on your journey. Because we don't always know where we're going. We're just going, aren't we? We just play it by ear sometimes. We try different things, we go back to other things, and then we disregard things. But this is what we do. We like to keep busy, active. We're social creatures as well. So it's nice to be able to get together on the Zoom. Have you tried that? The videos where you can meet up with your friends, or the party apps. So you can have a virtual party in your lounge with your girlfriends, get your wine, or your male friends, whoever, family. That's what we're doing later for my little nephew's birthday. First time I've not been there to share his cake in 9 years. So this will be, you know, the one time I've not had to be, you know, not been able to be there. So we're going to be there virtual later for a meeting, family meeting, which will be nice. Sing happy birthday, and we can carry on painting as well, so we can get him doing some little tasks, some little crafty bits. Not as long as this though, because obviously children lose interest. And that takes me to a little story. Okay, when I was doing the teacher training, I was informed by the tutor, who was quite strict. It wasn't very nice actually. Quite a few of the people that were on the course did leave because it's quite scary, and they complained about him. But me being me, you know, I just think, oh, okay, whatever. He said that after 20 minutes, your concentration starts to lapse, okay? So you'll concentrate intensely for 20 minutes, and then you might drift off thinking about, you know, what's for dinner? I've got to do the shopping, or I'm going to the gym later, whatever. I'd drifted off, hadn't I, in the class? So I get told off. Mrs. Alsop, did you hear that? He said. Were you listening? And I said, oh sir, what time is it? And he said what the time was, and I says, well, there you go then. It's been half an hour, I switched off 10 minutes ago. Do you know the look on his face? I thought he was going to kick me out of the class. But he saw the funny side of it. We kind of got on after that, yes. I weren't taking his nonsense. So anyway, going back to the hair, let's not bother about that. We stayed on the course, we passed the course, and here we are, teaching adults 20 years later. Wonder what he's doing now. I won't name who it is, of course, but I wonder. Right, so I'm going to turn it round now. I think I've done enough upside down. It's making me feel a bit giddy. I don't know about you, probably, but we'll turn it round and have a look. Oh, yes, he's coming. They're always he's. my animals are usually he's. They don't often look like she's. I don't know why. I don't know whether it's because I've got two girls and it would be nice to have a few boys in the mix. I've got two border terriers that are male. Terriers they are. And so all my animals are usually a he. Although I wanted girls, not because I didn't want girls, just like the animals to be the boys. A nice mix, so we're not outnumbered. Okay, so I'm putting these darker bits in still. I'm working on the dark bits. Nearly there, not far off, just a few more floaty bits with the rigger. And I can dry perhaps, or it might be dry enough actually. I've got the doors open now. You might hear the birds singing. Can you hear the birds? Hopefully. Beautiful at the moment. It's dried up a little bit. It's tiny bit of sunshine trying to get through. And I'm going to do these dark little bits here on the eyes, and I'm going to get this other eye in slightly darker. Okay. And little touches on his chops. Again, over the top. Around, we can fill areas that we hadn't touched before if you want to. You can just add paint, providing the wax isn't there to stop you. I'm going to put a few touches on his muzzle of grey, look. And I often will put, not just pink on the nose, but I do tend to put a little bit of pink on a lot of the animals, even though they haven't got them. So they may not have a bit of pink on the nose or the ears, but I might put pink on the animal just so that it draws your attention. Reds, oranges, yellows are aggressive colours. They're advancing too. And so the blues, the greens and the purples are receding, and they will sit back a little bit for you. So in order for you to focus on the face, we need detail with the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the whiskers, all of that. But also I just like to throw in a little bit of red there just to get your attention over that way as well, to draw your attention. So it's an advancing colour that will make you have a little sharp look. Right, so we're not far off now, and soon I'm going to be moving to the pen, and I'm going to use a thicker pen I think this time. So rather than the 005, because I've done quite a large painting, not ever so small, I can use a larger nib to get some of the eyelashes in. So I'm just going to try and get something up here. A little bit of dark, touch a little bit of dark this way, and get some of these furry bits floating off. So I'll just re-wet this, because it's easier if it's got a little bit of wet in to float those little bits out. Okay, like that. I'll show you in a second close up, just in case you can't see, but I've used this rigger rather than just the pen, because I like it how when you're painting they break up a little bit. It's not a solid line, so if you're trying to get a line for a whisker for instance, and you're trying to get it really careful, you'll start shaking and making a mess. So I suggest being really loose and letting that arm flow, not just your wrist, your hand. It's using your shoulder a little bit to move it out, turn it around, and don't try and go back over the same whisker either, because it will just look too contrived. So if it doesn't work and you don't get that perfect whisker, do another one somewhere else. That doesn't matter. It's all part of the process. We do what we do. Right then, I think we're nearly there. Bar the shouting, as they say. So I've lost a little bit of the detail in the eye, which I'm going to bring back with a little bit of pen. And I've also got areas of which I'd like to lighten. So you could do white acrylic, because white acrylic will go over the watercolour, black watercolour. Okay, so I used indigo and burnt umber. If when that's dry you want to apply white, the white acrylic will go over it. However, I sometimes use Parker ink, the Quink ink, and when you put the white over the top of the dry ink, it will look white, but then the ink will come through it, as in the dark ink will dominate and come through and make the white not look white anymore. So there's different things that you need to use for different mediums. So I find that when using the Parker ink, I use a blade, to get the white back, or make sure that you reserve plenty in the first place. Whereas a watercolour, pure watercolour painting, you can actually use the ink and you will get some success with the white. The FW will come pure white on it. I think he's not far off, so I'm going to be using in a moment the pen to finish. Pen and then the blade, so I'm just going to put them aside. I'm going to find the one that is a little bit fatter. We've got a 04, don't know if you can see that, probably upside down back to front because I am left-handed, and so it's probably looking like I'm not, but I'm definitely left-handed. And so I'm going to try and avoid areas of wax with this pen. As I suggested earlier, don't ruin your nibs. They're expensive pens. This is micron, okay, different size nibs that you can buy, but if you get anything on that, it's not going to like, it's very, very difficult to get it reworking. So I'm looking at this and I'm going to tighten in now with the detail, but not touching any wet bits, avoiding any wet bits, although nothing really is wet because that brush is so little with so tiny, you know, tiny elements of water on it that it's drying because the doors are open as well. So I'm all right as long as I avoid the wax and the wet. Now, this is where it's going to make a big difference, is the eyes. It's all in the eyes, okay, so the detail, that's where you're going to look. You'll focus on somebody or an animal, you look in their eyes. And so we need to get a little bit of definition in there. Not overly though, and the back of the, can I just suggest that if you are doing the eyes, look at the eyelashes I've got there, okay, and look at the eyeball. So at the front, I will define the black. Round the back, I will lift off the pen. So I'll study and do more hard lines on the inner of the eye, but when I get to the outside, I lift off a little bit, or I'd use a finer one. That will give you the sense of that being further round, further to the back. If you touch a bit of blue on that as well, you know, if you're thinking that the eye's coming forwards a bit, round the side bits are coming forward, drop a little bit of blue glaze on it, and that just pushes it back, it's receding. So that's just a little trick for you. So we'll just continue now with these eyelashes, really go into town now. Some beautiful little bits. And just little scribbles, really. Nothing tight about it. I don't like to be really constrained with any of my work. It's just at the end we get that little bit of detail in because we need it, just to bring focus to the face. I'm just dropping in some more lines in different directions, tightening the top of the head as well to separate it from the back of the ears. Again, you could use blue, push blue on the ear to set that back, or a little bit more pen work at the front to bring it forward. Okay, less at the back. So it's detail, lost and found. So you've got lost and found edges. So found are the ones at the front, perhaps there's wet on dry, and the lost ones are the wet on wet that bleed into the background, look a bit out of focus, so that pushes things back as well, as does lighter pigment, darker pigment. So you can do of many ways, whichever way suits you really, or all of them. Perhaps not overdo it though. So I'm just going to be tickling in this pen, just to redefine some of those pen marks that were done with the Staedtler early doors. The Triplus fine liner was the one that is water soluble, it dissipates, it's gone, it's vanished, and so to bring back into focus I'm now using the permanent. So I'm going to touch in tight detail on the nose with this pen, so I have to concentrate a little bit, make sure that we get that nose not too far down either. I might move that up slightly with the black, indicate a little bit more black so it touches that way a little bit more, and curve it round, little bits like that, into the mouth, little bits there, scraggy, a few more whiskery bits all over the place, round here, underneath as well, little touches there, a little bit on the eyebrows, This eye. So we need to sort out this one. I've done that one on the left, which is probably your right. And so the opposite side, I need to just define that eye. I've lost it a little bit. It's very, very wet on wet. So now I'm coming wet on dry, if you like, because it's a damp pen and it's getting that detail in and tightening it up for us. I can make that a little bit better shape. Sort it out. Okay, not bad, not bad. Turn it upside down, have a little look. It's just going to be the blade soon. This, little bits there, a few more little bits there. Tickling bits around there. Up, top of the nose, the eye, look at the shape, assess the shape. A few more eyelashes. More touches here. Could be darker here really, but what I could do is keep that as the dark and lighten it with the blade, so then that does become dark because you've lightened next to it. So there's ways and means of getting round, but just so that we finish it very, very soon for you, I'll show you where we're at now. There we are with the hair. I'm going to then use the blade. So many people are frightened of a blade. What I would say is just ensure that the work is fully dry, okay, because it won't scratch very well on anything that is wet. So it must be fully dry on the areas that you're using it. And I've got a sharp scalpel, that blade there, and it takes a bit of practice, so may I suggest that you don't practice on your piece that you're working on, but practice on a rough piece of paper first. And be confident with it, and then it will work better if you can just let go a little bit. So I've decided that I'm going to pull some more white in this ear. I'll show you where. I think I'm going to lighten here. And I'm going to lighten little touches on his head, over his nose, round here, and just little bits all around. So I'm just going to work on that. So I might go quiet for a moment or two, but going to try and get some scratchy light bits back, get some highlights to suggest his really scruffy fur, and you can use it upright like that and you get long whiskery bits as well. So instead of just the black whiskers, we can have white whiskers as well. Scratch all the way around the top of his eye. You can hear that it's dry, and it won't damage the paper because you've got such thick paper as well. That will allow you to hammer it, really, to be honest. So you lift it out, you're washing it under the tap, you're doing scratching, you're putting pen on, you're putting acrylic on, anything, it will take it to a degree. If you overwash and submerge in the water too much, then it will take the gelatin size out. It might start reacting different and you'll wonder why it's not performing for you, and that might be because you have overdone the soaking in the water and there are too many techniques on it. But generally speaking, the watercolour paper is quite hardy, and so I can scratch right into that without damaging and going through to anywhere else, other than sometimes you go towards a layer of colour that you did initially. So say you did yellow for the eye first, then you let it dry, then you put the orange on the top, you scratch away a little bit of the orange to reveal sometimes the yellow. So it works quite nicely to get those highlights back. So don't be frightened if this is what you need to use. Doesn't matter how you get there, as long as you get there in the end. I'm scratching away. Any areas I think would benefit until we're happy that he's sparkling. And that's why we leave the white, is so that we've got the sparkle on a watercolour painting. I don't know if you heard my shoulder click then. Not very attractive, I know, but one of them things when you're getting old. So I'm going to scratch that ear to get some more shape in there. Curve, following the contours of the shape of the animal that you're working on. So if you want to get a curve on the eye, then take either your brush, your pencil, your pen, your blade in that direction. Okay, just a few more bits of this. I'm going to get that spot back in his eye as well. Let's lighten that up. And this other side, we're just going to touch in a little bit more. A little bit on his nose. I overdid the nose, he's gone quite dark, whereas this one has got quite a light bit on his nose. And on this one, the inks had soaked in quite a bit, so I'm just going to get those back to light. Reshape this ear slightly as well. And the nose, okay. And get a curve over the top. Some whiskery bits here. Turn it round because I can't do it the other way. I've got to do it this way, it's easier for me. Like that. So I'm taking off the white bits that are already there, off the white into the grey, so that it looks a little bit more natural. And just scratch with the blade side on to get those little bits off. Okay, so you get the little bits off the paper away from the painting. I think for the first go of doing the video, it's not looking too bad. A few finishing touches and we're there. Just have another go with the blade, a little bit more of the pen, and then maybe drop in some orange back into the eye of where he's not quite orange enough. A bit on his head. Have a look. Right then, so what about a little bit of spatter on this one? To be different, don't want it the same, do we? Don't have to be the same. Need a light bit here. Right, so that's the scratching. Back to the pen work, a little bit more detail, and then I think we're going to spatter a little bit on him, get some colours on there. And just when you're doing the detail, perhaps switch off a little bit. Just try and concentrate on what you're doing. I'm aware when doing videos that, you know, there's silent periods, and when I was doing the teacher training, going back to that again, coming to be assessed, and I'd be talking all the way through, and I was advised, let them get on with it, let them do a little bit, let them concentrate. You don't have to be talking all the way through. So if that's what I've done, sorry about that, it's a bad habit. Okay, we'll try and just concentrate for these last few minutes. And then we're done. Okay, and I'm quite happy. And at least we've had a go at videoing, trying all different things in order to keep, you know, in contact with everybody, keep inspiring everybody in this difficult time, and keep painting, keep us going. That's what we need. Makes us feel better, nice bit of relax. Nearly there, okay, but you never need to rush the finer detail. The eye is in the detail is in the eye. Okay, so take your time at the end, get that in, get them looking into this hare's eyes best you can. I think we're about there. You can overdo it, then you wish you'd not done it, you see. So I said I'm going to drop just a tiny bit of orange back into the eye. So, nice and dry that is. Get the fine brush again, get some orange, maybe touch a bit of cadmium red in there as well. A bit of orange. We've got the cadmium red light. And I think I might enhance this pink just slightly on the nose again. And then I think I've overdone a little bit of the red, so we'll just use that mummy brush, squoze out brush. I know there's no such word, but I always say squoze out brush, and I'll use that, clean water on it, squeeze it out, and then use that to draw up that liquid that you don't want. So there's a little bit of lifting out there, was a bit too much, so just calm that down a little bit. And a tiny bit of spatter. So what colour shall we use? I think we'll go for the red, keep with the red actually. So just going to put little bits around in, and I might use a little bit of the greys that I've used as well, just to finish off. Just wet the brush. If you wet the brush, that will help the spatter come off, because if it's just dry paint, obviously it's not going to work. So wet it off a little bit, and then you can see it actually dripping, almost dripping off the end of that brush. Okay, so then you can get the bigger droplets as well, or use a bigger brush perhaps. But I do like to use my rigger for the bits of spatter, and if it goes exactly where you don't want it to go, look there, a big splodge, can you see it? There, there's a splodge there. I'm going to lift that one out with the squoze out brush again, and then we're going to do the same with the spatter on the grey. So just lift that out first, and then I'm going to use bigger splodges for the grey. So I might have to mix, I mean you can reconstitute that you've got, but it won't be very dark, and so I'm going to put a little bit more in there. As we did indigo, burnt umber, mix it together, using a bigger brush this time to get some bigger spatters, slightly different to the other picture that I did, because that's what we like to do. I'm going to spatter some black, blacky grey, bottom, up near the red again, a little bit off his ears, just show a bit of movement in the paper, and again, try not to overdo it. Wash that brush out. When washing the brush out as well, drop it right in the bottom of the jar to get that ferrule clean as well, so that it doesn't contaminate the next painting. Make sure they're washed out correctly. Squeeze back into shape, point them into shape. You can put a bit of fairy liquid on if it's gone out of shape, but usually after you've finished, if you just poke them into the right direction, and then don't leave them sat upright in your jar, the water will come down and rot the handle of your brushes, and so ideally rest them on a table flat until they're fully dry. Don't put them into an enclosed casing whereby they're going to get the mildew and stuff like that. So I'm going to show you the final result. I hope you've enjoyed watching. A little bit of motivational. Spring Hare, hard to see from what we've done, but I'm just going to try and hold up the best that I can to show you the finished result. You can do small, bigger, different colours. I might tinker with him just a tiny bit, but he's more or less there. Thank you ever so much for watching. Hopefully we'll see you again. I'm going to do 5-minute snippets as well, so really, really fast paintings for you to keep you going. All right, so keep safe, keep happy, keep painting.